I discovered that my best friend was my wife's secret lover for 5 years. I never thought my 40th birthday would end with burying a lifelong friendship and a 12-year marriage in the same grave. The message I should never have seen would change my life forever. There are moments that define you as a person, instants that divide your life into a before and an after. For me, that moment came on a Tuesday night while holding my best friend Carlos's phone in my hands. It all started during my surprise birthday party. My wife Laura had organized everything perfectly, as always. Our house was full of friends and family, good food, music, and laughter. Carlos, my best friend since college, had arrived early to help with the preparations. Carlos was always there, like part of the family, my daughter's godfather, drinking buddy, travel companion, and confidant. During the party, I noticed Carlos constantly checking his phone. He was nervous, which was unusual for him. At some point during the night, while everyone was singing Happy Birthday, I saw Laura give Carlos a subtle signal. It was such a subtle gesture that if I hadn't been looking in that exact direction, I would have missed it completely. A chill ran down my spine, but I ignored it. Today was my day. I was surrounded by people who loved me. What could go wrong? Around midnight, when the last guests were starting to leave, I saw Carlos leave his phone on the dining room table while he went to the bathroom. I don't know what compelled me to take it. I'd never invaded anyone's privacy, least of all my best friends, but something inside me told me I had to do it. The phone vibrated in my hand. A new message. My wife's name appeared on the screen along with the beginning of the text. Today was close. I can't keep lying. My hand trembled. I didn't want to swipe to read the rest, but I did. Today was close. I can't keep lying like this. These 5 years have been the most intense of my life, but we have to decide. I can't stand looking Antonio in the eye knowing about us. Either we tell him or we have to end this. The world stopped. The noise of the party became a distant buzz. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Instinctively, I unlocked the phone. I knew. His unlock pattern? We were best friends after all, and began reading the previous messages. What I discovered destroyed me inside. Hundreds of messages, photos, plans to meet when I was away for work, hotel reservations, gifts, promises, a complete, parallel life between my wife and my best friend, developing right under my nose for 5 years. I heard the bathroom door open. Quickly, I left the phone where it was and headed to the kitchen. I needed a moment to process what I had just discovered. Carlos returned, took his phone, and I saw how his face went pale as he read the message. Our gazes met for a second. He knew immediately. I knew. I didn't make a scene. Not at my birthday party, not in front of the few remaining guests. I smiled, continued being the perfect host until everyone left. Even helped Carlos put on his jacket while he told me it had been a great party. My wife, beside him, smiled nervously. I could see the fear in her eyes. Once alone, Laura began cleaning the kitchen as if nothing had happened. I slowly approached and asked her, "How long have you been sleeping with Carlos?" The plate she was holding fell to the floor, breaking into 1,000 pieces, like our life. What followed was a broken confession between tears. It wasn't planned. It happened little by little. We tried to end it many times, all the typical excuses, but there was something she said that froze my blood. You were always busy. He was there to listen to me. 12 years of marriage reduced to a phrase. I was always busy, working to maintain the house we shared, to pay for our daughter's education, for the trips we took together every summer. And while I was building our future, they were destroying our present. I asked her to leave that same night. There were no screams, no violence, just an immense emptiness. I sat alone in the living room, surrounded by the remains of my birthday party, balloons slowly deflating, half-finished glasses, and a cake with my name that no one would eat anymore. The next morning, the calls and messages began to arrive. Carlos begging for forgiveness, saying he never meant to hurt me, that guilt had been killing him all these years. My wife calling from her sister's house, wanting to explain everything. Even some mutual friends who had already found out, offering their support. What no one understood is that there was nothing left to explain. 5 years. It wasn't a one-night mistake. It wasn't a moment of weakness. It was 5 years of calculated deception, of looking me in the face day after day, knowing what they were doing behind my back. Update 1. It's been a week since my birthday from hell. Laura came to pick up some of her things while I was at work. I know because she left a letter on the table. I haven't read it. I don't think there's anything she could say to change what she did. I've immersed myself in work. It's the only thing keeping me sane. My colleagues have noticed something's wrong, but nobody asks too much. Except Marta, the new accountant who started a couple of months ago. She brought me a coffee this morning and simply said, "Whatever. It is. It will pass." It was a small gesture amid so much pain. Carlos keeps trying to contact me. He's come to the office. They kicked him out. He showed up at the gym. I changed my schedule. He even talked to my brother, who called me immediately. He's devastated, he told me. Devastated? What does he know about the true meaning of that word? Yesterday, I passed by the restaurant where the three of us used to meet. So many dinners, so much shared laughter, and the whole time they were exchanging glances, hidden messages, perhaps even touching each other under the table while I told them about my day. I feel like an idiot. The worst part is that now I'm starting to question everything. How many times did Laura say she was having coffee with friends when she was really with him? How many times did Carlos cancel our plans because he had to work late? The memories of the last 5 years are stained, contaminated. Tonight, I finally found the strength to check my email. Among work messages and the usual promotions, I found something that left me cold. An invoice from a luxury hotel, on the outskirts of the city, sent to my email by mistake instead of Carlos's. The date coincided with a weekend when Laura supposedly went to visit her sick mother and Carlos had a company retreat. Now I understand why Carlos always insisted on configuring our devices when we bought something new. He had access to everything: my emails, my calendar, my location. He knew exactly where I was at all times, which allowed him to plan his meetings with my wife without risk of being discovered. The level of premeditation disgusts me. They weren't just lovers, they were conspirators, meticulously planning every lie, every alibi. Update 2. 2 weeks later, and it seems everyone has an opinion on what I should do. My parents say I should consider forgiveness, that marriages go through crises. My brother thinks I should punch Carlos in the face. My friends are divided between those who think I should divorce immediately and those who suggest couples therapy. No one seems to understand that I'm not looking for advice. I just want time to process this betrayal. Laura finally stopped calling, which is a relief. Instead, her lawyer contacted me yesterday. He wants to talk about the division of assets. 12 years reduced to a list of possessions to divide. What's killing me is the silence in the house. I never realized how much noise Laura made, singing in the shower, talking on the phone, watching her favorite shows. Now, every corner is impregnated, with a silence that screams her absence. Today, something unexpected happened. I was at the cafe near my office when Carlos's wife, Daniela, walked in. We had known each other for years, of course, had shared countless dinners and outings. She sat across from me without asking permission. "I guess you know everything now," she said with surprising calmness. I was speechless. Did she know too? "I suspected it for a long time," she continued. "But I didn't want to believe it. It's easier to pretend everything's fine." I asked her since when she knew for certain. 2 years ago, I found a receipt for a necklace he never gave me. Then I saw the messages. I wanted to leave him then, but... Her voice broke. We have 3 children, Antonio. 3 children who adore their father." I felt a mixture of compassion and rage. How many lives had Laura and Carlos ruined with their selfishness? "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked. "Because Carlos has left home. He says he's in love with Laura, that he always has been, since before you met her. He says they're going to be together now." The impact of her words hit me like a physical punch. Before I met Laura? That would mean our entire story was a lie. Daniela showed me a photo on her phone. It was from college, a party I hadn't attended because I was sick. In the image were Carlos and Laura hugging, looking at each other with the unmistakable gaze of 2 people in love. "I found it among his old things," she explained. "It's dated 3 months before he introduced you to Laura." Everything made terrible sense. Carlos had introduced me to Laura at a party, saying she was the cousin of a coworker. It was he who insisted I ask her out. It was he who pushed us to be together. Had it all been a twisted plan? Had I married the woman my best friend desired because he couldn't have her at that moment? I left the cafe stunned, with more questions than answers. When I got home, I did something I had been avoiding. I opened our wedding album. There was Carlos, my best man, smiling next to us. But now, looking carefully, I could see something in his eyes when he looked at Laura. Something that had been there all along, but which I, blinded by trust, never noticed. Update tree. A month later, and my life has taken a complete turn. After my conversation with Daniela, I decided I needed answers. Not from Laura or Carlos. Their lies no longer mean anything to me, but from someone who might know the truth from the beginning. I contacted Miguel, an old college friend who had distanced himself from our group after an argument with Carlos. I never knew exactly why, but now I had a hunch. Miguel agreed to see me with some reluctance. We met at a bar far from our usual circles. His first sentence confirmed my worst suspicions. "I always wondered when you would discover the truth about them." According to Miguel, Laura and Carlos had been a couple for almost 2 years in college, an intense but secret relationship because she was engaged to a guy from her hometown. When that engagement broke off, they expected to be together officially, but then Carlos's parents intervened. His family had very specific expectations about who their son should marry, someone of the same social level and religion. Laura didn't meet any of the requirements. They gave him an ultimatum: end things with Laura or be disinherited. And Carlos, always so dependent on family money, chose the money. But he didn't want to lose her completely. So he devised a plan. Introduce her to me, his trustworthy and manipulable friend. If she was with someone close to him, they could maintain contact without raising suspicions. And it worked perfectly for years. "I tried to warn you," Miguel told me. "Remember that night before your wedding, when I told you to think carefully? If Laura was the right one? Carlos threatened me afterward, said I should stay away from you all. That's why I stopped hanging out with the group." Each revelation was like a knife. Not only had I been betrayed for 5 years, but my entire relationship with Laura had been a farce from the beginning. A convenient arrangement so they could stay close. But why marry me if she loved Carlos? Miguel had a theory. Laura always wanted stability and a family. Carlos would never give her that. He was always too selfish. With you, she had the security she needed, and Carlos in the shadows. The best of both worlds. I left that bar with painful but necessary clarity. All the rage I had felt transformed into something different. Pity. Pity for 2 people so empty that they built their lives around a lie, ruining others in the process. The next day, I hired a lawyer and filed for divorce. I also did something I should have done from the beginning. Changed all my passwords, closed joint accounts, and regained complete control of my digital life. Among the notifications, I found something curious. Reservations for a trip to Paris in the names of Carlos and Laura, scheduled for the following month. The dream trip Laura had always wanted to take, the one I had been saving for to give her on our next anniversary. I called the travel agency and canceled the reservation. With the refund, I booked a trip for myself to Japan, a place I had always wanted to visit but which Laura considered too strange and distant. It will be my first act of true freedom in years. Update 4. 3 months have passed since I discovered the truth, and 6 weeks since my trip to Japan. That trip was exactly what I needed. New places, new people, no shared memories with them. The divorce process is ongoing. Laura finally stopped using her lawyer as an intermediary and sent me a direct message, asking us to meet to talk like adults. I declined the offer. There's nothing to talk about with someone who lived a lie with me for 12 years. What I did accept was meeting with Daniela. She and her children are going through a terrible time. Carlos practically abandoned them, hardly sees the children, and has stopped contributing financially. Apparently, his plan of true love with Laura is having difficulties in the real world. According to Daniela, Carlos's family finally found out about everything and fulfilled their old threat. They disinherited him, without the family financial backing and with 2 homes destroyed behind him. Carlos is facing the reality of his decisions. Laura, for her part, discovered that the free Carlos is not the same as the Carlos she saw in secret. Without the excitement of deception, without the drama of forbidden love, there's just a middle-aged, selfish, and now resourceless man who betrayed everyone who trusted him. As for me, I'm rebuilding my life, piece by piece. I moved to a new apartment, smaller but bright, without the ghosts of the past. I've taken up old hobbies I had abandoned. I play the guitar again, run at dawn, read for pleasure and not just for work. And yes, I've started dating Marta, the accountant from my office. It's nothing serious yet. We're both taking things slowly. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm exactly where I should be, with someone who really sees me, not as part of a twisted plan. The betrayal of Laura and Carlos taught me a painful but valuable lesson. Blind trust is dangerous, but total distrust is a prison. I'm learning to trust again, but with my eyes wide open. A few days ago, I received an unexpected package. It was from Miguel, my college friend who revealed the truth. Inside was an old photograph of all of us in our college years before Laura appeared in our lives. We were young, carefree, authentic. On the back, he had written, "Remember who you were before they defined you." This will be my last update. Not because the story has ended, but because a new one has begun. A story that is truly mine. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had never picked up Carlos's phone that night of my birthday. How many more years would I have lived in that lie? But the what-ifs no longer matter. What matters is what's happening now, and what's happening is that at last I am living my own life.